day 4, and we woke up by the river just out of the town of Sangla. We'd arrived very late last night. There was a large landslide that held us up for about 7 hours. So by the time we got to the turn-off road to come up here, it was dark. It was also really foggy, and there were periods of rain as well, albeit light. So we really had no idea of what we'd got ourselves into on the way in. All we knew that we were staying in a really nice place by the river in Swiss tents, and that was about it. Because we were effectively a day behind now, we needed today to head to a place called Recompeyo, which was about an hour and a half ride back down the hill to get what's called our inner line permits. And these permits allow foreigners, i.e. non-Indian nationals, to enter into the Spiti Valley and travel around inside the Spiti Valley. And the reason for those permits is because it's a really contentious, disputed border area with China, and so obviously they are wanting to keep track of anyone who's a non-Indian national to see if they have got ill intentions or not. So the plan this morning is to ride up the road a little bit further to a town called Chitkul, which is the last Indian town before the Tibetan border. The road we're riding on was originally, centuries ago, the Indo-Tibet trading route, and as time's gone by, obviously they've used it to continue that process up until modern times, when effectively the border was sealed once the Chinese had invaded Tibet. But there's still a pretty free flow of people from Tibet and their relatives coming and going at the border, which is about another 30 kilometres up this road, and is not open to foreigners or even Indian nationals. As I say, last night when we came up, it was completely dark and completely foggy, so we could only see no more than 2 metres in front of us at any one time, which in a way was probably good, because there's not evident here today what this filming is about, but further back down there are some unbelievable drop-offs, and it's probably best to not see them. If you can't see them in the dark, you don't know what you're riding next to. Today really is getting the bikes set for riding off-road. Up until this morning, late last night, when in the last 20 kilometres, the road was about of this standard, and in places worse. So just want to make sure that the bikes are set up for non-sealed roads, because that's what we're going to encounter for the next 10 days. Once we leave here tomorrow, we're staying here 2 nights, and the reason for that is this is the first place we stay at that has some altitude that AMS, altitude mountain sickness, can occur at. So we slept last night at 3,000 metres, and today we'll move up to probably in the late 3s, early 4s, and then go back down and sleep at 3,000 tonight. And that's the secret with acclimating to altitude, is to go high during the day and sleep as low as you can during the night until your body acclimates to the full heights of where you're intending to go. People get into trouble when they decide that they're just going to blast straight up to 4,000 metres or 4,500 metres without having spent a couple of days acclimating on the way. And that's when all kinds of bad things can happen to people. So we just take our time. This is the first day that we're starting to see spectacular mountain scenery, albeit that it is very green as well. So there's no hurry for us to get high. We just want to do it right. As well as acclimating, where we've started the regime of Diamox now, and Diamox is a preventative treatment for altitude sickness. And also, if you get altitude sickness, you can use it as part of a regime to hopefully alleviate that. But the best way to overcome AMS, if you do get it, is to go down low. So if you're sitting at 4,000 metres and the wheels have fallen off for you medically, get down to below 3,000 as quick as you can, and the issues will resolve themselves in a very short period of time. You can see that there is water around from last night's rains, and the first 2 or 3 days once you leave Delhi and you're starting to head up the side of the hills start to get up high, that's when you're going to get the rain, because the southwest monsoons are running at this time of the year, and the moist air is coming across, and the first set of real height that they hit is these hills and mountains here. So it'll come across Bangladesh and eastern India, and then hit these hills and start to drop it all. And what happens is it drops it all here, and then the Spiti Valley, which is a high biosphere cold desert, doesn't get hardly any rain at all, because it's already been dropped on these sides of the mountains. You can stay at Chitkul, the last village before the Tibet border. There are numerous smaller guest houses, but we chose to stay in, as I say, the Swiss tents by the river. And when you say you're staying in tents, some people think of the days when you're a Boy Scout camping out. These are nothing like that. They are luxury tents with double beds and hot water and separate bathroom, ensuite bathroom, and carpeted floors. So it's not, when you tell people you're going to be sleeping in a tent and they think you're all brave and adventurous, really it's like staying in a 3 or 4 star hotel. It's just that your walls and roof are a tent rather than brick or concrete. This is also the first time that you start to realise the dearth of traffic up here. Yesterday we were on NH5, which is the main highway coming north, so it's not overrun with traffic, but it's a lot busier, whereas you can see here, I don't think so far we've seen another car, and it's unlikely that we will, and having said that, we'll probably come across one in a minute. But this gives you an idea of the level of traffic that is up once you get up higher. And yeah, here's a truck. So that's a livestock and goods truck, and unlike down low in India where cows are revered and treated as untouchable, once you start to get some elevation, cows are used for not meat, but for milk and as a form of currency. And once you get way, way high, the cows move out of the scene and the yaks start to kick in, and that's the same there. They're used as a form of wealth holding and currency, rather than for their meat. You will get a lot of yak milk products, yogurt, and they do a type of soft cheese as well as the milk. For me personally, the taste is a bit too strong for my palate, but lots of people like it. I can drink it if it's icy cold, but if it's warm, I'm going to pass on that one. Tom and Hung are stopping, and that's not unusual for photos, because right about now you're starting to realise this is a pretty out there place that we're riding into. So this is the start for the next 10 days of stopping really often to do photos and videos. And why wouldn't you? You know, we're not in a super rush. We don't have a schedule that is outrageously compressed. We have the time to do it, so why not? For a lot of people, they'll only come here once, so you make the most of it. Take your time. Even though there's quite a bit of water around, the road is not mud based, it's broken rocks. So apart from a couple of really short stretches where it got a bit muddy and you move around a bit on the bike as you go through, the rest of it there's no problem at all. You're just riding on damp soil. It's really important when you do come up here that the footwear that you have is waterproof. Not here, but further up into the Spiti, there'll be times when you need to do river crossings, albeit they might only be 5 or 10 metres wide, but they can be quite deep, and if you get your feet wet and your socks wet, and then you've got to keep riding and it's only 10 or 15 degrees Celsius, your feet will very quickly get rather cold. So waterproof boots is really important, and if you don't have fully waterproof boots, as I found out last season up here, then you can just buy a pair of gum boots cheap, or Wellington boots. I think the people from the UK know them as. you can buy them cheap up to size 43 euro, which I think is size 9 or 10 US. And that's worthwhile carrying with you if your boots aren't waterproof, and then when you do come to the river crossings, you can just quickly change it over. But my advice is spend the money on a decent pair of waterproof boots that you know are waterproof, and I've probably had 30 or 40 different pairs of boots over my riding life, and only one of them, which is the current set, really are waterproof. I've not found another set that, if it's torrential downpours or through a river, I haven't found another set that work. For me, the former Adventure lows work. They're waterproof. It's got to be the former Adventure Evo lows with the stitched top to the soles. The other ones tend to separate. They work for me. I like the lows. I don't like the feel of the high calf ones. I know people have issues with that, but for me it works. That car on the side of the road will be one of the locals who are come out to look after their goats or cattle, and in this countryside here, it's more than likely that it's going to be goats. You'll see cattle being moved along the road, but this is kind of not that a good terrain for the cattle to be grazing in. Every now and then you'll see things like on the right hand side there, which are like little rest shelters, and you'll also see like garden benches next to the road, and at first you think, well, what's that about? But there's a lot of people up here who have no vehicles, no motorbikes, no cars, no nothing, so a lot of them are just walking, and you know, it wouldn't be unusual for them to walk 20 kilometres to go to the bigger town of Sangla to get something that they can't get in the small village of Chitkul. So they kind of look after each other. Well, not kind of, they do look after each other up here. So they put out the shelters in case it's raining, and they have the little benches, and you can stop and have a rest and then continue on your merry way once you've got yourself rested and recovered. I'm sitting at the front ahead of the other two guys at the moment, so for me I'm a lot more comfortable when I know that everything's okay with the guys behind. So I stopped at that point to get them to catch up, but by the looks of it, it didn't work, although they might go past in a short period of time. Oops, they're in front of me, that's why they didn't stop, that's why I didn't see them come past. There you go. You don't really get landslides in this part here, it's more just rock falls. You'll get a large rock come down. It's because of the vegetation, it's not that common for a large area to give way and go down. It's more common just for a rock, or, you know, and by a rock I mean it can be the size of a motorbike, to just let go and come down. It's not so prevalent that you get the large landslides that start to occur more frequently and are a lot bigger when there's no vegetation to hold the soil together. And that starts for us in another 2 days' time. This road's kept in reasonably decent condition because, once again, like everything up here, there's a decent sized military base at the end of the road near the Tibet border, so they want to be able to move their stuff back and forth with a reasonable amount of speed, and be able to get their stuff in and out as quickly as they can if they need to. This is a pretty active flashpoint area right through the Spiti Valley. There's been some fairly serious clashes over the past 10 years or so, and within the last 5 years, so I need to keep on top of it. At this point we've probably got another half an hour to go till we get to Chitkul, and by now we'll kind of sussed the bikes out off road, or, you know, off unsealed, and worked out that it's all good. There's no issues there, and we're used to it. Once we get to the end of this road, we'll pull over and turn back and come back down again.